Hi there, Tracy Crowder, Splash Fabric, and I'm happy that you're here because this month for Fabric of the Month, we are going to make these fabulous smock aprons. These are so great. One size fits all. It's a great gift. You can't go wrong. You just throw it on. It's this Japanese cross-body, cross-back smock apron. So I've always wanted to make these and now I have. So let's get started. I'm going to show you how. This month in Fabric of the Month, we have 1/2 yard of uncoated cotton. And that is used on the insides of the straps, the insides of the pockets. Oops, this side, the insides of the pockets. And there's a little placket in the front and this bias tape that goes around the armhole. So those are places where we're using this uncoated cotton. So it's going to be great. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is cut off the top, the selvage. You're going to fold it in half. This is your fold. These are your raw edges, and this is your selvage up here. And so first thing you're going to do is come along and just cut this off so it's square. 29 inches, mark 29 inches, and I'm just using a normal ballpoint pen because I'm going to chop this whole thing off, so it doesn't matter. Okay, when you get your fabric, it's not always 100% square. This edge, I have a piece of fabric here that gave me a little bit of a wonky edge. It wasn't exactly square, and so I measured over just 18. In this case, I ended up with 18.5 inches, that's fine. And so I measured over and made a mark, and then I cut it off. Okay, so now we have, this is the selvage at the top here. And I'm going to come down to the bottom. This is what we cut off the bottom of our apron. So I go 2 inches up and I'm just slicing two. These are apron straps, 1 and 2. And then this is the 29 inches as shown by my broken tape measure. Right there, 29 inches. Okay, so now that we know that, then what we're going to do is cut the curve that is the armhole. And the way we'll do that is to measure 13 inches from this corner. Just like geometry, you could put a pin in here and a string at 13 inches, and that's the way you could do your curve. But what I'm going to do is, the way I always do curves is like this. You just make a bunch of points that are all the same distance from that corner and pivot around, and you've got yourself a little curve. Okay, so then when you get over here, and what you should end up with is 5 inches from the fold over, because you want the top of, this is the top of your apron, and you're going to cut out the armhole. And so this is going to be a 10-inch top of your apron. So this is my curve, and then I'm going to get to a point over here where I'm about 5 inches from the wall from the other side. And at that point, that's 4.5, so that's 5. So at 5 inches, we're going to go straight over there. And the way I'm going to do that is take this shape, because it's square, and draw that line here. Oh, I could have done it on here too, right? Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then from here over, it's going to be square with that corner, with that edge. Perfect. So then this is going to be curved and that's going to be straight. And that is better for the shape of your apron armhole. Just believe me, because we tried it on a bunch of people. And that is what we discovered. So then you just hand draw between those shapes and you get a pretty sweet curve, don't you? So when I take my scissors and cut this out, and you don't have to overthink it, it's good enough. So then you get to here and then you go straight. Perfect. Out of this, I am going to make a pocket. We're going to make a pocket that is 9 inches by 9 inches, because that's a pretty good pocket size. It's deep enough you could put your cell phone in it and it's not going to fall out when you bend over, which is my biggest beef about pockets and aprons, especially when I'm working outside in the yard. So there you go. These are also really good teacher gifts because every teacher you know, art teachers, any kind of school teachers, are wearing a smock and putting a lot of things in their pockets all the time. So I thought it would be helpful to show you kind of the anatomy of this apron. This is the back. These are our strips cut for the straps. But the back of this apron is just folds over you like this. These are pockets that I put on, and you can see them from the back side. I've just sewn them on. This is a little placket that goes along the top. It just gives it some finish to the top of your apron. And then these straps are sewn in underneath that. And this is uncoated cotton, so it's really comfortable close to your skin. This whole back side is cotton anyhow, so all of it is comfortable. And the back side of these are also uncoated cotton. These are 2-inch straps, and we're making those 29 inches for the sake of this first apron that we're making. These are pieces of bias tape that you're going to cut out of the uncoated cotton here. And when you cut our uncoated cotton, this pattern goes at a diagonal. So actually the bias tape is now squared off, as you can see, to the edge. And so this is the way the pattern usually looks. These, it doesn't matter which way you cut them. The straight can go either way, crossways or straight up and down. And I'll show you that. But I'm just sort of explaining. So these are the elements that you're going to make. We've already cut the shape out here. We're going to hem the edges. I think just a single fold, since it's not going to unravel, is fine. And then this bias, the placket, and the straps are the things that we're going to make, and the pockets. So here we go. Okay, so these are all the shapes we're going to cut out of this large fat quarter of uncoated cotton. We have 29 inches exactly if we include the selvage. Nobody cares, it'll be under the straps. And so we'll start by chopping this off. These are 2 straps. Here's 2 pockets. And I had to arrange this so that we could get these bias cuts here. And that is what made this whole layout work the way it does. These are bias cuts. These ones we want to go diagonally and make sure that we get 18 inches out of this. If you get longer, it doesn't matter. As long as you get 18 inches, you'll be fine. I'm going to fold this over. Okay, now the only thing that you'll have to iron, and you don't even have to, but I'm going to iron it just to show you how it works. So we're going to take, this is our little placket on the front top of the apron, and I'm folding it up about a 1/2 inch. About is good enough for me. There we go. So I'll just go along this line. Perfect. And then we're going to sew these down here. These are the binding that goes around the armholes. And so we're going to fold this under because this is going to sew along the edge of the apron armhole, and then this is the binding that's going to fold up. And so what we want to do is make sure that we have 1/2 inch folded down here too. So we're just going to take this, and remember how I told you these are 1/2 inch, so it makes it really easy. It's just 1/3 of this thing. These are 1.5 inches. We're going to start building the apron kind of from the front side, and it's all going to involve this gingham, putting the little pieces where they go. So the corner up here, you'll pin that, and then we will know that the strap goes right in there. So we'll start with pinning here, just to kind of get this sorted. So here we are. We're going to sew maybe 3/8 of an inch on either side down the edge of these straps. These are 2 straps, and I put right sides together, 1, 2, and then are going to sew all the way around the pockets and leaving a gap of about 3 inches as an opening to turn them right side out and stitch around the top. Okay, one tricky thing is turning your strap inside out. And I thought I would try something. I'm not sure if this will work, but I don't know why it won't. I sewed a piece of paracord into the end of my strap. So turning it should be very easy. You can use a piece of webbing or a piece of fabric and just attach it down to this end really well and sew across it, and then, look at that. It's just a matter of turning it inside out. Isn't it now? There we go. You mostly just keep grabbing it on the outside on the, and then it just really starts going. Okay, so then you do that. And you just snip that off. And I'm going to use it on the other side. Okay, now we're going to poke. We have to make it fairly flat. I have this handy dandy tool by Annie's makes. It's a poker. But you can use a pin. You just use a pin or whatever you got. If you have some kind of fancy turner, go ahead and use that. I don't have much fancy. Although this little pokey thing is very fancy in my book. So you just kind of get the corners out and the edges flat, and we're going to iron this. And don't worry about ironing the laminate because it will take the iron. No problem. It's magic stuff. That's why we call it magic fabric. So we're going to get these all sorted and then iron out this side, these sides. Oh, and I'll snip this off. And maybe I'll just cut it off so that we don't have that tail of the end of the string sticking down, making it bulky. So we'll just chop that off. Okay, so we're going to iron these flat, just a sec. But first, I'm going to turn our pockets. So we have 2 pockets. I've left a opening here. So now we'll just snip off these corners, and that will make these ever so much easier to turn and get some points on the corners of the pockets. So we'll just snip these off. Now don't snip your stitching. That's pretty confetti, isn't it? Now we'll turn these pockets. And what I like to do is get the first corners. It's kind of like putting a duvet cover in a duvet. It has the same kind of frustration level, only this is much smaller. The most important thing is that you want the opening to be enough fabric folded under that it's going to sew down. You know what I mean? So I'm going to put a little pin here just to make sure that we have it enough. We're going to be able to sew it down, and the stitching will catch the edge of this opening in the stitching. So this is a little bit fussy because you got to open out these seams all the way down and on both sides. So let's see, I'm going to do one side first. That's how I'm going to do it, maybe. There, that part worked really well. And this side, I want it to open. I've seen people, you know, you can pin into this wool. You can put pins down and then iron it that way. You know, I'm not that fussy, but that's something you could do. So I'm just going to, actually it kind of helps. I'm going to yank this end out as well as I can. I have a studio mate who is a costumer, and she puts a wooden rod down the middle of it. If you have a wooden dowel around, a rod, like a dowel, you can put it in there and then you can iron it open on that seam if you really want it to get absolutely opened out. Alrighty then, there's one, and then we'll top stitch. So I thought I would try this. This is a dough roller. If you've ever made jiaozi or any kind of those dumplings where you roll out the dough, we have this in our kitchen. So I thought I would try it. Look at that, and it just fits. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but let me try it. Always ready to try new things. Yep, so we can just roll it out that way. Huh. So it's going to be a squeeze to get it through here. But the middle part is, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think it's going to work. But anyway, if you have a dowel that fits inside this, this is one option for getting this seam fully flattened out. If you have other ideas, let me know. Oh, it might work. It's just going to be, you know what, when it gets warm, it actually loosens the fabric a bit. Well, that worked out pretty well. So even easier than double folding it is to fold it one time and just stitch along that edge. And with our fabric, since it doesn't fray, it won't go anywhere. Okay, so now we're going to go 5.5 inches over from the edge and place this pocket here. I forgot to top stitch it. You'll want to top stitch it first. Or you don't have to. It's probably going to be fine without the top stitching. But, so 5.5 inches from the edge, 2.5 inches up from the bottom. Easy peasy. Pin that on there. Top stitch it if you want. And go ahead and pin. You can pin all the way through everything. Laminated cotton doesn't care. It might if you're going to see it. We don't like to perforate it anymore than you have to, but this is underneath the pocket, so it's totally fine. And, you know, if you have this, like this little pinhole after you're done, you can kind of heal it with your fingers if it bothers you, but you know, start cooking and it doesn't bother you at all. So then we're going to sew these pockets on, okay? And I put the opening here so that it's not on the top. You just don't want it on the top. But you're going to stitch close enough to this edge, about 1/4 of an inch over, maybe 3/8 of an inch, so that not 1/8 of an inch might be too tight, but you want to make sure that you catch this opening so it's not those little edges are not flopping out. So next we're going to do two things. We put these straps, slip the top of the strap in between the facing and the front of the fabric and put the laminated side down, so that'll be on the outside. And it just goes over 1/2 inch here. And I am going to sew this top on. So we're at this point where we're starting to assemble. Okay, so now we have the pockets are on and the hem is done. And we're going to finish the top and put the straps on. So the way the straps work, let's see, first we have to sew this stuff down, or at least pin it down. So the top, you're going to top stitch along the top and then all the way down the side. And you're going to, let's see, how are we doing this? Oh, I know how we do it. Ha 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 ha. Okay, that's right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn it this way, right side facing us, and we're going to put the straps down, cross this one over. We're doing it just like that. Okay, we're going to cross this over. We could have done the hem after. I'll see how this goes. I can't remember how I did it the first time. Okay, we're going to make sure that the laminates is meeting the top of this. So we're putting that one there, and we're crossing this one over and bringing it up and putting it right there. So I'm leaving a little gap here. I can't remember what happens when this comes down, but we're going to find out. So, and then we're going to take this binding and run it all the way along this side. So it goes right sides together all the way down around here. And you can pin it. I probably won't. I'll probably just do it for show here. And then we're going to stitch it a 1/2 inch all along here, or even a little bit less, like 3/8 of an inch. And then we're going to fold this over, and this is going to bind all the way around this, and then we're going to enclose this in that seam. You'll see, it will work out. So you do that on both sides. So I can snip these corners once again to make it so that the corners look as pretty as they can. And then I'm just going to take this facing and turn it inside out here. This is going to be so fun because we're going to see it all just come together. That's how it always does at the end. So cool. I think this is a really fun project, actually. I've always wanted to make one of these, and now here we go. Okay, so this is that's that facing, and the facing around the edge, what you're going to want to do is fold it over. We did this ironing thing. I'm not sure that helped, but we did it. And we have to fold all the way to the seam and then fold all the way over. So the rest of the cotton is on the back. That's how we're doing it. Oops, and I should have my clips. But I seem to have spread my clips around the world. And at the end, we're going to be so tricky. We're going to do something real tricky. It's going to be great. So now this corner, we're going to fold that over, fold it back on itself, and then fold the binding closed. So we got kind of a big knot there. That's going to be the most impressive place for your sewing machine to go through. Okay, let's do the other side. So I'll finish pinning all this down. So now I'm going to sew from this corner all the way up the side and across the top and down this side. And then I'm going to sew across here. Okay? Okay, so getting into it is really easy. I've seen people kind of struggle with conceiving of how it works. You just take your apron and you put the arms on first, and then this cross thing, you just stick your head through, and you're done. Easy peasy. It's really a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. What I wanted to say as part of the outro is that I learned 2 new things. I have 2 new tricks during this video. And during the making of this video, I learned something new. One is to sew a piece. This is a strap that sewing a piece of string or ribbon inside of the strap makes it much easier to invert, to turn it inside out, as you saw in the video. And so that was fun. And then the other one is using my rolling pin that I've had in my drawer for years. And it's the perfect thing to iron the edges of this strap flat. Don't be afraid to iron our stuff. It's really, the laminate takes the iron just fine. So I hope you had fun sewing your aprons. Send me pictures and happy sewing.